Well, hello. Welcome to Tea Tuesdays. It is your girl V. If you are not already familiar, it's the week of Centennial. Okay, let me calm down. Let me calm down. Before I have a hot flash, let me calm down. I have a special guest with me today. It is the one and the only. Okay, there's no other soror like her. Trust me. I've looked and I haven't found any. I'm just letting you know. Her name is Soror Tamika Nicole Williams Clark. Hello, Soror. How you doing?
I am well. Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, welcome to Tea Tuesdays, girl. Where we have the tea of knowledge. The tea of knowledge. Are you excited about Centennial?
I am actually, it's been a buildup for a number of years, and to finally be here, it's really awe-inspiring. The last time we've had other, landmark 25th, 75th. But this is the one that I think we will all remember for our lifetime is 100 years, and it's been a buildup to get to 100 years. So we had 75th, we had 95th, we had smaller other ones, and we had the 50th, of course, mid Centennial, but this one is kind of the granddaddy, or excuse me, the grandmommy of them all.
Right, definitely. Now, just in case for our viewers and listeners that are not familiar of who is Soror Tamika Nicole Williams Clark, who is she, and why is she so phenomenal? Well, I just want to let you know that she was our past international Epistoleus. I said I was going to say it the other way, didn't I? See, I'm always messing up. But anyways, that's how I pronounce it. So our past international Epistoleus for the international sorority. I mean, that's a really big deal. It's a really big deal. And she has a wealth of knowledge. Now, I do have to say this. So let me get my thoughts together before we go any further. So the opinions expressed on Share the Tea Tuesdays are my own and do not necessarily represent the positions, strategies, or opinions of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, its leadership, or affiliates. All right. Now we got that out the way, so we can clear that up. So I have a question.
Yes.
And I'm such a visual person, but I don't know if you got a chance to go to the Boule, Centennial Boule in July.
I was there. I
figured you were. And did you get a chance to tour the Walking in Our Founders Trail?
I did. I got to see everything, when I was a member of the International Board of Directors. So we got the preview before the preview. So everybody else. So we got there when we unveiled our historical marker. Mm-hmm. And so for me, a lot of that was like, okay, now I can put a name and a place together. We had some discussions that we were going to do a living museum on site, but that actually was better what we did because it was actually the place that we can walk in the founder's footsteps and kind of see what it was like. It was the summer. Obviously, we were founded in November, but still get to see what it looked like or how these 7 young, African-American women had to go to school, where they had to go to school. A lot of things that you would see there also were really striking, like say, for example, the open book that's on our pen, that's on our shield. And just kind of being there, it was really, I was there with, past Grand Basileia, Dr. Katie K. White, Dr. Annie Lawrence Brown, people who really have laid the foundation for Sigma, who knew the founders, especially as they got up in age. So it was interesting because we did an abbreviated tour, but we got to walk down the street. It was really well done. I thought the Irvington Society did a really great job.
Yeah.
Knowing that some of the research that I provided, went into helping them to form some of that. So that was, to me, it was good to see the neighborhood. I'm from West Coast based. We don't have that kind of history in that way in California. But I think that people were just excited just to see where we came from, because again, we're not like the other historically African-American sororities and fraternities, or at least I will say, 6 of them, because we were all founded, not at a historically African-American, university. So we weren't founded at HBC. So our history is different, but it just was, I thought the investment that the Irvington Society did when we working with us hand in hand, I thought that They did a phenomenal job with Sigma Gamma Rho. It was just nice. And I think I was shocked at how many people wanted to actually go there, because I'm a history buff, so I care about
Yes,
stuff like that. But a lot of people that aren't, they just wanted to go, and they just wanted to walk in the footsteps of the founders. So I thought that
definitely.
was really impressive.
And if you have no idea what we're speaking of, and if you're in Indiana, it's the Irvington Historical Society. They are on Facebook. They have a website and everything, and they're really really nice people. I must admit, like everyone is nice, even the person that's well, the people that are directing the tours. But I did get a chance to experience, and I just want to say it was empowering, but it was also almost overwhelming.
Yeah, it was. It was, especially when you get to the streets, and then the moment. And I don't want it to be a highlight, because I don't want this to overshadow who we are as an organization and our
Yeah.
accomplishments as African American women or women of color. Was that the house of the Grand Dragon being so close to where
Mhm.
our founders would have had to walk, by class. And this man put up pillars in front of his house
Right.
so that it would kind of basically be reminiscent of a plantation. Like, what kind of
Hmm.
mindset is that? So I think that for us to see that, and just to kind of put it in perspective, they didn't have the technology that we had. They probably were walking to school. I think there was like a cable car or something that was going through Indianapolis during that time to help
Hmm.
that form of mass transit. So just seeing that they had to walk, because I'm sure they did not have cars, just to be educated. It's like we always as Black people have to do extra.
Right.
We
Right.
can't just show up to work. We got to go to work and be the number one employee. You know,
Hmm.
they can just show up to school and just be good students. They have to be the best students if they wanted to progress and really make an impact and really stay in an educational environment. So,
That's a great point. That is
yeah.
definitely a great point. I enjoyed the tour. So if you guys would like to go, I feel like, if I'm not mistaken, I said they're going to still highlight it or have it going on throughout November. I'm trying to remember what she told me. But I know they had it up until September, and then they're going to bring it back for the week of our Centennial. So it's really a site that you need to see. Of course, there are going to be people that's going to feature it all on social media. So even if you're not physically able to go, you can see it on social media somewhere, because I'll probably even share my little snippet on there. So, but thinking of the mindset of our founders, um, and just the point of, this is a Saturday that, Sigma Gamma Rho was created, back in 1922. And to me, sometimes I wonder, well, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I always wonder, like, what were they thinking back then?
You know what? It's interesting though, because, well, we don't know that was a Saturday, so because we
Well,
have,
okay,
we have to
sorry.
we have to look it up to see. But that would be interesting, because you can find that pretty easily now with technology,
Mhm.
what day of the week it was. But you got to think about it again. 7 young women, Indianapolis, Indiana, not a huge enclave of African American people that are prominent. That's mainly on the East Coast. And then
Mm,
in the South, you saw a lot of Black people, because everybody was still kind of migrating from the South to the North and everything at that point in time
right.
historically. But what impresses me about the founders the most is, like, they didn't have connections. These weren't people who came from wealthy families. These were working class women who were trying to basically, and not, most African Americans at that time were doing domestic work, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so if you had a job as a teacher, that was like elevating your class status. And so the whole idea that they wanted to come together originally to empower teachers to get their bachelor's degrees, so that they could be more of service to the youth that they were actually teaching. So to me, that was, you got to think about it. At 17, 18, 19 years old, I wasn't thinking about that. We
Right.
had a founder that was 17. The oldest two founders were 26 years old, and then
Mm-hmm.
some ages in between there. And so to think that we're coming together to start something that is going to be of support for people down the line, I don't think they conceptualized that. They knew what they needed to do now. And other women who found that inspiration, joined the organization, and here we are 100 years later. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that they really just wanted to, again, it was the concept of let's better ourselves so that we can be a better service to the kids that we have this, we want to do this intrinsic thing of just serving other people, and we know we need to do this, and now we're bringing other people along, and look at where we are now, 100,000 members initiated, over the last 100 years. I don't think they could have really conceptualized that. I know that anything that I've done that has been great and had an impact, or anything that you've done, you do it, and there's just this drive to do it, and then when you start to see it grow, you're like, wow, like I
Wow.
was on the right track. And I think that's where their heads were. They even said that, like, when they came back they came to the mid-centennial celebration, and
Mm-hmm.
that was, like, at that time the largest celebration of anything Sigma Gamma Rho had. That was at 50 years in 1972, and to see the growth, because by this time they were up in age. Our founders were they would have been in their 70s at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So from 17 years old, 50 years later, you're what, 67?
Right.
So, that's the youngest founder was 67. So you got to think the oldest founders were like in their, mid to late 70s at that point. So
Yeah.
um, I think that they just really were, I think they were just in awe of what they created. And I think that's true for any Greek letter organization. If you look at the history of all the founders, for many of these people that founded these historically African American sororities and fraternities,
Mm-hmm.
for many of them, this was the greatest thing they've ever done.
Right. That's true.
And you don't see a lot of people, like, beyond the founding. This is what they did. This was their accomplishment, not minimizing the rest of their lives, but this was the one thing that has a legacy that has lasted for 100 years, especially for us. Or we're the last of the elite eight, or grade eight, to become 100, and then Iota Phi Theta will become 100 in about 40 years. So
Right. Right.
yeah.
And I think it's just the importance of the legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, when I said Saturday, I'm thinking.
It's okay.
Sorry, I was like, girl. Okay, anyways, but yeah, just thinking of the legacy, the legacy of all the people that it has touched, since 1922, and how it just continues to grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger. At times, I wonder, like, we think about our families and our ancestors, and are they proud of us? And, like, yes, I think they are proud of us. Just we've made some phenomenal steps compared to where we were from the very beginning. And we have more work to do. Of course, it doesn't stop when we turn 100 years old. It doesn't just stop, but we have a lot more work to do. But just that legacy component is really, really a big factor to me when I look at that.
And it should be. I think that's what you look at. Even, say, for example, myself, I've been a Sigma Gamma Rho member, Sigma Gamma Rho, since May 31st, 1992, 30 years. And looking at my first boule, I went to in 1994 in Winston-Salem. And I remember going to that boule. I had never seen that many Sigma Gamma Rhos in a room, and there was like maybe 500 people. So to go to this boule and to see, and just to know how many people that we have that are active and involved,
Right.
and to see the growth of the organization is mind blowing. I'll give you an example. I have 7 line sisters, and 3 of them came to their very first boule in July.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and they'd never been. And then I had a couple of neophytes. One of my neophytes from spring 96. I'm dating myself, right? And then another recent neophyte from spring 16. And I was like, you guys really should come. Don't be on the fence about it. And they got there, and they were like, oh my gosh. And they were like, I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to go to Indianapolis,
Yeah.
because they would have been sitting at home, one, mad because everybody would have been posting on social media.
Right.
Two, I think they got to see, like, what the organization looked like across the country, and with our global members coming in, they got to see that. You don't see that on social media.
Mhm.
It's one thing to see it and type it and be a keyboard member, but it's another thing when you're actually in the presence of Sorors. Like, I remember a boule I went to, what was that, 2014, National Harbor, and I had just reactivated like the year before, and everybody was like, hi Soror, hi Soror, hey Soror, hey Soror. So you're walking down the street, everybody is hi Soror, hi Soror, hi Soror, hi Soror. And just speaking to people just in general, not not, you're walking, but you just feel compelled because even though you don't know the soror, you
Mm-hmm.
just want to speak because it's like, hey, you're Sigma Gamma Rho, I'm a Sigma. We do that. We see people in the grocery store, we run across, try to kill people with shopping carts, trying to get to her. We're driving on the freeway, you see a soror, you like, honking and acting a fool, because that's what we do. But I think to see it at Boule, where everybody is a soror, everybody has on blue and gold,
Everybody.
was for them. I was more focused on what kind of time they had, because I've seen Sigma Gamma Rho, like, on a larger scale, but I was more focused on making sure that they had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And did you make sure you go to this, make sure you go to that, meet these people, this is what we're going to be doing, have you met this soror, have you met that soror? I was like more interested in my friends and my sands and the people who I have close personal relationships with, making sure they got the connections that they wanted. Give you an
That,
example. One of my neos, she went and she is, or I shouldn't say neos, one of our younger sorors, who's been in the organization about 6 years, and she was saying, like, I have my line sisters, but I'm not as close as them as I would like. And I said, look, we got 100,000 members. You will find somebody somewhere. You will find your
that's
people,
true.
but you got to put yourself out there. And
Right.
she went and had a ball and kept talking about it. And we just went, and another soror that she met, I introduced her to. We just went and celebrated her birthday yesterday.
Oh.
So, and we had our area, we had our Centennial celebration yesterday. So I think that is what that impressed me so much about Boule, is just people get to see the enormity. We got to see the enormity of the
Mm-hmm.
organization. So we're not just in a vacuum, you know.
Right. That definitely makes a big difference. And congratulations. 30 years. I mean, woo, that's a big step, big step. I'm just now 21, so I'm just now legal. But
I came in when I was 2. I was a child. I was a baby, a toddler, a
you were
toddler going
probably
through. Yeah, just
and
a toddler.
what university was it?
I actually came in through something that doesn't exist anymore, which is a metropolitan chapter.
Oh,
So I
okay.
came in, yeah. So I came in May 31st, 1992, Kappa Phi chapter, which was 3 schools at the time: University of California, Davis, University of California, Davis, California State University, Sacramento, where I went, and then another school called California State University, Chico.
Oh,
And there was on my line, I can say that we had all 3 schools. So I'm
wow.
actually the second international officer off my line.
Oh,
Yeah. So
okay.
so my line sister, she came in California, and then she moved to the southwestern region and went to University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, and she got elected second grand international, second vice president for people who are not Sigma Gamma Rho, when we were in undergrad. And I remember that's why I went to the Boule in 1994,
Wow.
because that's where she was running for election, and she served from 94 to 96 under Corrine Green, her second term.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
See, history I didn't know.
Yes.
That is that is wonderful when your I'm gonna say your line sister has history, significant history as well as you, and being an international officer is a really big that's a really big position. To me it is. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but to me I'm like, oh my God, that's a really big deal. To me it
You
is.
were you were a regional officer. You're a
Yeah.
regional Epistoleus, Epistoleus, depending on where you live.
Right.
Southwestern. That's how we met, actually.
Yes, that
We're
is
both regional
true.
officers.
I
Yeah.
know. And I've met so many sorors because a lot of my friends say, "Oh, Renee, you're such a social butterfly." But I love to meet people. Like I know that's part of my southern hospitality, but I just love to meet people and then I get to talking. Next thing I know, we didn't exchange numbers and the rest is history. So yes, it's been a long time. It's been a long time coming. Definitely, definitely. So with the history of Sigma Gamma Rho, it's 2022. What is something that you feel is really genuine for the people to know about Sigma Gamma Rho? Because yes, we know about our founders, but I'm not for sure like the foundation of it or like because a lot of our things have stayed the same for a while. from my understanding. Uh,
Mhm.
but what do you think is something that's really genuine that the public sees as far as Sigma Gamma Rho?
I think people see the genuine, like we do have sisterhood. Like, that doesn't mean that I love every single person, but I love a lot of people.
Right.
And so I think that that's important. I remember, when I came up, we would go from, we lived in California is a big state. And so people don't know this. It takes like 14 hours, I think 12 to 14 hours to go from the top of the state to the bottom of the state, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But I knew sorors, and we didn't have the internet at that time. We were doing like writing letters, calling like people like your parallels or parallels, and that means people who came in at the same time or semester that you did on the phone, writing letters to like sisters in other places. But I do remember this. I'll tell you, when I was about, I think 19, it was right after I became a member. They said, you're going on a road trip. I said, what's that? They said, it doesn't matter. I said, I don't have any money. They said, that's okay. You worry about that when we get there. So we ended up renting cars in Sacramento. And then what we did was and I didn't rent them because I wasn't 21 yet. I was still
Right.
for no car. So one source, she ended up renting some cars, and then we like drove down to the Bay Area. That's about 2 hours from where we are, and then picked up some sorors from other chapters, and then drove down to San Diego. That was an 8-hour drive in the car.
Oh my
I
God.
didn't know where we were staying, what we was doing. I didn't even know how I was gonna eat. I had $40.
Oh my gosh.
We got down there. I'll never forget. We got to San Diego to Delta Gamma chapter, and they had a line the same. I have Spring 92 parallel. One of my parallels, I'm really good friends with Sands. She's also number 7, Spring Delta Gamma. I'm number 7, Kappa Phi. We got down there. We had a place to stay. We had breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Mm.
We also had, some we had some, some libations provided by the men of Kappa Psi, of course. And we stepped in that show, and I just remember like it was just one of those things. Like it didn't matter. We drove that time so that they could have all those people on the yard. So
Wow.
we show up at the step show. It's like 150 Sigma Gamma rows. We
Yeah.
just took over the yard. They're like, people like, where y'all come from? And we did that over and over again. So I say this to say is that when we were in our element, we ride for each other.
Mm.
We will make sure that Sigma Gamma Rho is going to show up and support each other. People will be like, well, what chapter are you in? Even in the Bay Area where I live, they'd be like, which chapter are you in? I know there's 2, but it seems like you guys are all mixed in together because that's
Hmm.
what we do. We ride for each other. I have had some amazing experiences with sorors, some life-changing experiences. I was talking to a soror. She says, we didn't sign up for this part. I said, I know, but somehow we're doing it. I've been in situations where sorors have passed away or
Mm.
their family member has passed away, and we just come in and the family has to worry about nothing because we take care of it.
Wow.
And that's just what we do. I've done it for many sorors myself, including one of my online sisters. I've done it for people who I brought into the organization, sorors I didn't know. We've done it for other members of other Greek letter organizations. And I remember one of my Kappa friends, he's sitting down with his sister. She's not Greek. I brought over food because he had just been going through like a heart, had a surgery and was going through a divorce. I'm bringing food to the house. And just on the strength of this is my brother, this is somebody I've known for years, and this is how you treat family. And
Right.
so I think I learned hospitality. My upbringing was already that way. My parents are from the South, but I learned that in Sigma Gamma Rho, we stop whatever we're doing and we go and be with each other when we need to, and we handle that business for each other.
Hmm.
I've been there for births. I've been there for deaths. I've been there for hard times. I've been there to help sorors move their stuff out the house when it was a bad situation. And that's who we are. And I think that is what keeps me coming back, even when people get on my nerves, because my nerves are short now. But I know that if I need something, a soror will stop, drop, and roll and do whatever needs to happen to make that happen. These are my family. I've seen us do, the families are always amazed, like, where'd y'all come from? This is what y'all do. You
Right.
know, a funeral procession. We feeding the families. We cleaning up afterwards because that's what we do. That's what we commit to do. This
Right.
is our, this is our commitment beyond just doing the service. It's the sisterhood that I think that makes me happy to be a member of Sigma Gamma Rho. And then sometimes people get a little jealous. They're like, y'all really do this stuff for each other. I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
supposed
I
to
mean,
do.
like, why not?
Right, right.
I don't understand that. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're going to use the term sister, and I mean, we're not just talking about blood sisters, but we're talking about sister. If you're going to be a genuine sister, what does that look like? And everyone has different definitions of what they feel like a sister looks like. But in essence, everything comes full circle when you think of the sisterhood of Sigma Gamma Bro. And that's always been my thought. So when I talk to new people, and just even our newer sorors, I ask them, what are you looking for? Help me understand so I can be able to help you. Because sometimes we don't have that understanding, especially depending on your family background, or what's going on in your life. Some people are a little private. They don't want everybody in their business, and so we have to respect that. But we also have to make sure that we're there for each other. And I think that's a really important part for me, is just to be there.
My line sister is so funny because like I said, I have 7 line sisters. One of them passed away. Loved her to death. And when she passed away, no questions, we helped the family. That's what we
Mhm.
did. So one of my line sisters, who I'm really close to, she was the one that came. We were on the same campus, and her kids. She has older kids now, 13 and 14. And so at one point, her kids were like, "So how is Tamika related to us?" And so she had to explain to them, like, because they're like, she's there. She shows up to our family stuff. Like, they're my godchildren. They just didn't. They were like, is she like our auntie?
Like, yeah,
And
pretty.
someone, she explained, that's my sorority, because we have no blood relation,
Hmm.
but this is my friend. These are her children. I love her children like I would love my own. And it's funny, or people be like, how is this person? So we have to explain sometimes to people. Like, I'll be like, my real sisters, not my sorority sisters, and they'll be like, oh, okay. Because
Okay.
people, I have two. I have two. I have 2 sisters and a brother, and so I have to explain to people when I say sister, my sorority sister, so they understand the difference.
Right.
But like, yeah, we've been in the hospital with folks, and I remember one time a soror and I were there for another soror, and the doctor was like, wait a minute, we can't make these decisions because we're not family,
Mm.
but we're there as support. So we
Mm.
know in our mind logically that we're not related, but it's still like this family. Just, this is what we do. Sorry.
It's family. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll admit, and I've told several people this, I get overly protective. I do.
As
It
you should.
it's just really, it's really bad. But I've gotten better over time. But I really get protective of Soros. You just don't want people to get hurt or to be, mistreated or anything like that. So I really do get protective. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but
I'm protective within reason. Like, I will ride for you. I will have your back. I will do all the things that I'm supposed to do. But I don't mean I have to like you, though. So here's the thing. I'm very clear about that. Like I was like, we don't have to get along, but we do have to respect each other, and that is something that's super important to me. Like, you know, I'm a woman first, and I'm a Sigma Gamma Rho second. So we have this thing in the Greek community called deference, but I'm a
Mhm.
firm believer that deference is, you got to give deference to get deference. It goes both
Uh-oh.
ways.
Yep.
And I will tell people in a minute, I don't have to defer to you, but you do have,
Mhm.
but deference goes both ways. It's just not an automatic based
Right.
on when you come in. It's about respect. You earn respect from each other, and then you give respect to each other.
Definitely. Definitely. I
Mhm.
love that. That
Mhm.
means, well, no, I'm not gonna say that. Never mind. Never mind. And I'm not editing it out. I just said never mind. That's all I'm gonna say.
You know what? But we got to tell the truth about it. It's not all flowers and skipping through the forest, singing
Right.
songs. hymns and doing work, there is some relationships that tend to be more challenging, and you have to work on them. But the thing that is the mutual respect, and everybody is not maturing at the same level. Because again, I've been in 30 years. Somebody who's been in maybe 2 years may not have an understanding. We're going to talk about that understanding, but just remember, if you start crossing me and your understanding is a little different, don't think I might not flex back on you.
Right.
It's both ways.
That's true. That is true. So, do you I know we shouldn't have favorite founders, but do you have one that you tend to
I
lean
do.
towards a little bit more?
I do. Actually, I've studied them, and it's really hard because back in the 20s, it wasn't like we had a lot, like we could sit there and just get in the psyche of a founder. People, respectability, people didn't do that. But
Hmm.
I'm gonna tell you my favorite founder, and it's Hattie Redford.
Okay.
And people are like, Hattie Redford, like, so I made it my mission, my personal mission, to educate people on who Hattie Redford was.
Okay.
And it's Hattie Redford because Hattie Redford, she served in like two roles in the Grand Chapter. She was never a Grand Basilisk, but she served in two roles. She was the Grand Epistoleus or Epistoleus at one point, and then she
Hmm.
was a Grand Tamiochus, and she served in that role forever. And then
Wow.
when she retired, or when she took a step down, she remained on the board as a financial consultant. So she served the sorority in an active capacity, like really active, for 40 years.
Ooh.
So, and a lot of people don't know that. A lot of the early business was done in her home.
Hmm.
Um, she was at everything. There's passages in the books that you can read about her giving speeches at the 25th, at the 40th anniversary of the sorority. And she was really the heart and soul of Sigma. Everybody had their contribution, but I kind of lean towards, like, I made a point to let people know about Hattie Redford because everybody assumes that, and again, founder Little, she did, or Allison at the time, because that was her maiden name, was Allison. Those other two names are her married names. She was the this was her concept, but it took six other women to help that to help that come to fruition, and she did. She was the one who got everybody together, organized folks, put it to made sure that they met every night. They worked for 3 years before the sorority actually had the first boule in 1925. And so she served only 1 year as president at the time. It wasn't Grand Basilisk, it was president. And she served as president from 25 to 26. Then she moved to California to basically get her bachelor's degree at UCLA. So she died in California. She served as a teacher for, I think she's like there for like 30, 40 years for the LA Unified School District. And so she passed away in California. And she's also a favorite of mine. But there's other founders that did stuff like Nanny Mae Gone Foster Johnson. I just put that other name in there because a lot of people don't know that she had another name. She was married twice. And she actually, people don't give her enough credit, but she actually helped to design the pen, her and Kubina McClure together. So it wasn't just Kubina, it was her. She did a lot, so a lot of people don't talk a lot about her. Um, Dorothy Handley Whiteside was the young one. She was the baby of the bunch. She was the kid. And just for her to go along with the older people, and she stayed, when she was active, she did a lot of things with, like, she made hats. So she had a millinery business. She was really into fashion. Kabina McClure was extremely brilliant, but she died early. But her main contribution was she helped to design the pen. She was into the arts. She was going to go to Columbia University on the Gregg Scholarship. Um, Vivian Irene White Marbury. She was very scholarly, and she did a lot educationally, and we have her direct legacy on the International Board of Directors right now, which is Dr. Khalila Shabazz, is her great granddaughter.
Oh,
So,
did
um, you
you,
know,
y'all
so
didn't
she
know that. I want you to say that part one more time for the people that may have missed it.
Vivian Irene White Marbury. Her great granddaughter is Dr. Khalila Shabazz, who's our international grand anti-grammatius, which is recording secretary. So
Mhm.
that is her great grandmother. And if you look at old pictures of her and then put them side by side, they have the same brow line. And I didn't notice that till I was at headquarters looking at the pictures and when we were filming. And so I got a chance to look at it. But that is her great grandmother. And so she was the only founder that actually had children. And she actually taught at Morehouse. She also, you know, she went to Columbia and got her master's. So she was the principal of a school for 37 years. I want to say 37 or 39 years off the top of my head. But she was great. Did I miss one?
Oh wait, you named them off really fast. Hold on.
Yeah, I want to say, I hope I didn't miss anybody. Like, I got Kabina McClure, I got Vivian Irene White Marbury, I got Nanny Mae Gon Johnson, Hattie Redford, uh, Bessie Rose Martin. That's who it was. So Bessie Rose Martin, she actually it's not a whole lot known about her, but she actually didn't go. Most of them all went to the same high school. She went to a
Mm-hmm.
different high school, but she was involved in Sigma Gamma Rho early on as well. And if you look in the early officer list, she was served as one of the officers. I can't remember off the top of my head which one, even though I wrote the stuff on the monument. I can't remember her officer off the top of my head, but she actually was around for a while, and she was a teacher. She took care of her family. Like, she spent a lot of time taking care of her family. She died in 1947, 4 years after she finally finished her degree at Butler. One of the things I think people need to understand is that they were working professionals, but they didn't all have their degrees at the time we were founded.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could teach with a normal school degree, or certificates, kind of like when you go to a community college and you get a certificate as a trade, and then you have to go on and get other things. Sometimes you have nurses like LVNs, and then they go and they become an RN. So that was
Right.
kind of the level of where they were. And so they were all at different places. So we had, I think, 5 founders that actually graduated from Butler and 2 that didn't. Kabina McClure would be one because she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And then Little, founder Little, she actually ended up graduating from UCLA. So yeah, I kind of went through them all quickly, but my favorite one, if you know me, they'll be like, which one? I'll be like, Hattie Redford.
And
But you know what? She was a writer too, so she had some really interesting things to say. Like, I have some of her like quotes and like some of her speeches and stuff. And
mm-hmm.
one Soror got so mad at me because I posted one of her quotes. What does that mean? Why would she say that? I'm like, first of all, sis, it's a founder, so you need to have several seats. This is where deference comes into play. This was a founder. Go have
Mm-hmm.
several seats and don't question her writing. This is what she said about her experience in the sorority. It ain't got nothing to do with you.
Right. And it's back in that time. That's what she was. I mean, anyways, we won't go into
Yes.
all that. But
Yeah.
yes, definitely. There are some very interesting facts in the book that you mentioned. I do love that. I was really way back in my younger Sigma years. I was really on a hunt for book, the first book, because I think I had the second one, and so I was like, okay, I need the first book. Like, I need to go back. I need the first book. Who got the first? Give me the book. Give me the book. You not read the book. Give me that book. So that was kind of my notion, but I finally found it. So no worries there. I feel a lot better now. So I wanted to ask you a question, and it was right there. But oh yes. So with the monument that was revealed this past July, did you have? I mean, I'm quite sure you did, but all of the writings and the beauty. I mean, it's so beautiful. I just want to say that it's really beautiful. So I don't know if you had your hands in the midst of that with designing and how you wanted to look. But can you tell us a little bit about the monument and how you were involved?
I was not involved in the design of it, but I did rewrite the captions on there to make sure that they were accurate.
Okay.
So for example, one of the ones that I was like really like watching and breathing when I saw it was Bessie Rose Martin, because she has like 3 different years of birth. Actually 4.
What?
1897, 1898, 1899, and 1900. And so the reason why is because, you know, they didn't really have good accurate records of African Americans back in the day.
Right.
So we had to kind of figure out, the date was the same, July 12th. That's her birthday, but it's just the year. So we have like a bunch of different ones. But what we had to do was synthesize it and make sure that what I did was I synthesized and made sure that I made sure whatever contribution they made to the sisterhood was on that monument.
Mm-hmm.
So worked with with our executive director, Karen Williams, and then some of the core members of the Centennial team. And she asked me to look over that and make sure that things were accurate. and so that it would go up on the monument. So yeah, that was my main contribution. So I wanted to make sure that that was right. I was glad that I was able to do that because we had histories for folks that just needed to be refined. And now we have expanded histories for all 7 founders that tell a little bit more about them. Of course, we're not going to be able to be like, she wore green on this day, and then she wore a blue and gold suit and stuff like that. We don't have that kind of information or about their
Right.
temperament, but it's just giving them the due and the respect that they have as women and as
Definitely.
founders, the place of deference or reverence that we have in the organization. So yes, I did. I did help to write. I should say I rewrote the verbiage for the monuments.
Okay. Well, wonderful job. Wonderful job.
Thank you.
Amazing job, Soror. And also, just a little snippet in case anyone missed it, that all of our founders have, how do you word it as far as their doctorate degrees?
They got honorary doctorates from
Honorary doctorate.
honorary doctorates because they had degrees. The only one that did not have a degree was Kubina McClure because she passed away in 1924.
Right.
So
Right.
every one of them, all the other ones got bachelor's degrees. They got them. So Butler was able to award them posthumous doctorate degrees
That's
from the
right.
universities. Yeah.
Thank you. I was like, it's post something, and it wasn't coming to me. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, that doctorate degree. And I mean, that's phenomenal. So from now on, we have to make sure that we address our founders as such. I'm just saying, just throwing that little,
Yeah. I think we can. I think we can. And I think that the good thing is that they acknowledge them. The university
Yeah,
acknowledged
they did.
because, for them being, I'm sure them being African American women or Black women or African descendants of slaves, they did not have, they were probably just a number at a university. And what they did was transformative because now we have over 100,000 people or women following in their footsteps, and I believe they did need to be acknowledged. And then we did need to say their names and acknowledge their work in the sisterhood and their work to found the sisterhood, honestly, because we wouldn't be here without them. That's one thing I like to let people know. You would not be a Sigma Gamma Rho if there were not for the 7 people that worked hard to found this. So that you can sit here and wear your colors and shake that monkey if you want to, I'm just being honest.
You didn't do the shake that monkey part in there. Okay, yes, that's true. But you do have to pay respect.
Yes.
Just pay respect. And I think that's a very important part to make sure that we do, especially as we continue to step into greater and just to be a greater organization I just think we're supposed to be. So let me ask you a question, because I know it's been 30 years ago. Do you remember why you wanted to be a member of Centennial?
Nah, girl, I don't remember that. No, I'm just playing. I do remember. So our situation was unique because we did not have Sigma Gamma Rho on campus. We had every other organization. We had the other 3 sororities. And I was like 18. So I was a first generation college student, my line sister as well. And we're looking around at the other organizations. I'm like, if this is what we got to choose from, I don't think this is it for us. So what had happened was we kind of were researching, kind of found out some information. And so there was a believe it or not, there was a young man who had just become a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. And so he liked my roommate. And so he had just became a Kappa. So he would come to our room and talk to us about Greekdom all the time. And so he's like, have you guys thought about a sorority? And we'd be like, we good. We just came, we came to campus or whatever. And he was like, have you thought about one? And we'd be like, no. And he would be like, every couple of days, have you thought about Sigma Gamma Rho? And we're like, what's Sigma Gamma Rho? And so, he was like, oh, they're really cool, coming from he's an undergraduate, he's a neophyte, new member. So he's like super duper hype. And so he was like, you guys should look into Sigma Gamma Rho. We like, what's that? And so we didn't have any on our campus. And so I went to the library. I'll never forget this. Back in the day, we didn't have Google. You couldn't Google.
Right.
So there was one article in the library And it came out in February of 1991.
You
That
do
article,
remember the date. Oh my
I
God.
do remember the day because I went and found that article again. And Ebony Magazine was doing profiles of different Greek letter organizations. So I went and pulled that article. I have a copy of it somewhere in my records. I have to send it to you. And I went and pulled that record, that magazine, and then I copied it on from microfiche. Remember microfiche?
Mm-hmm.
And and it had a picture of the entire board of directors of Sigma Gamma Rho, and it talked about Sigma Gamma Rho being the eighth member of the National Panhellenic Council at the time, because Iota Phi Theta wasn't there was no D9 at that time. It was the grade 8 or the elite 8. And I started reading and I was like, this is interesting. And talked about 7 school teachers and greater service, greater progress and all this stuff. And I was like, they sound really interesting. So I had a friend at the school. So we used to have this thing called organization night. We still have it at my university. And a Sigma Gamma Rho came to campus to speak. They invited her to campus to speak. And she was very, very nice. Unlike the other sororities. Like the other sororities, they would talk to you, but kind of not really. But we didn't care because we were like our own. We were like cool people. We had our own thing going.
Right.
We were already hot chicks or whatever. And so
The hot
she
chicks.
came, she spoke to us, and she was really bubbly and nice. And I had a friend at the school that she came from, which was Davis, because I said we were Metro chapter. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Have you heard of Sigma Gamma Rho?" And she said, "Yeah." And they're gonna have a line, and if they have one, I'm gonna be on it. And I said, "Oh, okay." So she said, "You want me to get you invited to the interest group?" We didn't even know they had an interest group. So we go to this interest group. I had, other sorority had tried to, was trying to woo me or whatever. And,
Mm-hmm.
and they had invited me to a tea and whatever, all that stuff. And I was like, I ain't going to that. And so we went to the informational and walked in, and there's like 50, 60 people, like women. And these 6 young women, beautiful, like very like well put together, beautiful, very down to earth. They did the informational and then they went in and they walked around and spoke to every single woman in the room.
Wow.
And when I was talking to them, they were just like so cool and was like, like, "Oh, where'd you come from? Thank you for coming." And it was the last information. We didn't even know. And they said, they invited us to it. And they, like I said, every single member walked up and spoke to us and had a conversation. It wasn't just like, "Hey girl, thanks for coming," or whatever. And they were just so eloquent. They talked about the community service that they did. I was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." They talked about school being a priority. And like I said, and these were like beautiful, very like, the cool kid type of girls. They
Right.
were really
Right.
community service, really into stuff. And then after that, we left and we were like, "We think we want to be Sigma Gamma Rose." And so back then you couldn't tell people what you wanted to do.
Right.
But what happened was they had a regional conference in Sacramento, and me and my line sister and my roommate, we went to the regional conference. We showed up at the public meeting.
What?
Yes, we went to the public meeting because we wanted to see what it was about. Like,
Right.
and it was funny because we were small then, like smaller, regional conference public meeting, 100 people or something like that, 100 maybe 200 people, and they introduced us to all of the officers. Grand Basils was Dr. Katie K. White at the time. They introduced us to, and then they introduced us to all the undergrads that were there.
Wow.
And so we left. There was a party happening. And they were like, "You're going to stay for the party?" And we were like, "No, we're going to leave." Not that wasn't on purpose. It wasn't because we didn't want to party. We just, planning on partying. And it's funny because a couple of my line sister walked in with another line sister. She walked in. She's like, "Y'all not staying for the party?" And we are like, "No, we leaving." And so, and they would, they came in bopping, getting ready to go to the party. And we like we met everybody. And
Hmm.
after that, I was like, community service, good women. Me being a first gen college student, I'm like, you're gonna need a support system.
Hmm.
It's up and coming because it was like California in 1992, excuse me. And I'll never forget, like, I was like, we were like so excited. We were like, we want to be Sigma Gamma Rhos. And that's how I became an interest. And then I went from that meeting to the formal rush through an educational process, and now I'm a member.
Oh wow.
So, mhm.
Wow. Now I just want to say, just hearing your story, I'm like, oh wow. Because everybody's story is different, you know. And with you actually going to the regional conference, I would just be so geeked, like, oh my god, like okay,
We just went. We just went to see what it was about.
right,
And
right.
and I'm glad we went, because I think that's honestly, I think that's what got us in extra, because we went to see what the business was about.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
and we went, and they were just so literally, I remember meeting like my pro fights, their dean. And it's funny because fast forward 30 years, I was a stepper, and when I was in college, and step master, and she was like the stepper of the California. So I actually coached her for this last step. We did a exhibition for this parade called the Black Joy Parade, and I
Yes,
was
I
step
saw
master
that.
for that. And I was, and she stepped under me, which was hilarious, because here I am, her pro fight, I mean, her neophyte, and I'm coaching a pro fight
Mm-hmm.
to do this, coaching a whole team of people. And so
But
that's how
you
we
still
did
got
it.
those skills, though. I mean, if y'all don't understand that stepping takes a lot of patience, precision. I mean, let me stop before I get to preaching. But 30 years later, you still got it.
I
Still got
still got some of it. I don't have it all. Like that's I don't know that I could commit to an 8 to 10 minute show. I could commit to a hard 3 minutes,
a hard
maybe.
three.
Yeah,
Not
like
three.
what we did was a minute. Was a minute, 65 seconds of greatness.
Okay.
But but we had like 130 people out there. So, you
Right.
know, but I rehearsed them. Actually, I have to say that was one of the highlights of my year and that had nothing to do with me being a historian. That was just me being a step master. And it was a highlight because Sorors didn't get it until we got there. They complained, they did this, they did that, but and so the team that we worked with, we were just like, just let's just get there. And when they got there and they saw it, and I don't cry very easily, but I
No.
cried that day
Oh, you
because
shared
I
the
saw
feeling.
everybody. It wasn't just us. It was us, the rowers. It was the philo. It was our rosebuds, and just 130 of us out there. And it was coming out of COVID, and we
Right.
were the biggest contingency of the whole parade. The other Greeks were like, "What the?"
Yes, we're coming through.
Yeah, we came through, and then for me to step, I hadn't stepped in like 23 years, so for me to step and to teach everybody and to go through the rehearsals and stuff like that, that was super important to me. Like I literally, we were just talking about the other night because we're getting ready to start preparing for the next parade.
Okay. That
Yeah.
that that one that's this month, or is that a
No,
different?
not that one. This will be
Oh,
one in Oakland. So no, I have my own. I have my own step team, but there's steppers from my team they're going to be on that team.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So, are you for hire?
I do teach. Yeah, I'm a great teacher.
I figured that.
I
Okay.
teach the fundamentals. I teach. I mean, I was a stepper for years in college. I mean, I stepped competitively for 7 years.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so we stepped competitively all over. And so I did. There's videos, like sometimes they'll show like these old school videos, and people be like, "Is that you?" And I'll be like, "Mm-hmm. Yeah."
Like
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
that's
I was
me.
about that life. I was about that life, like literally, because people would be like, "Who are you competing against?" It don't matter. I'm like, "We gonna win." They'd be like, Soros would be like, "Well, what about that team?" I was like, "We're not worried about that team. We worried about ourselves. Focus on yourself."
I know that's right. Focus on yourself. I love that.
Yes, yes. I was like, "We'll get there."
I love your spirit and your energy.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I love yours too.
So, in with the next, I don't know, 20 years, maybe 50, where where can you see Sigma Gamma Rho going from here?
You know what I would
We're
like to
still
see?
young. I just want to say that we're still young. So
Yeah, our holograms will be at the next Centennial, right? Well, heck, they might be able to freeze us. Who knows?
who
Technology
knows?
is crazy,
Right.
right? Have us beam down from heaven or something. Um, I would like to see Sigma Gamma Rho in the next few years go back and really invest in our membership now. We got past the Centennial. Centennial is a big thing. But let's go back to basics and invest in our membership and really grow our women, train our women on programming. There was three things that when we revamped Sigma Gamma Rho, not revamped it, but evolved the organization. Let me put it that way. 1928, and it came out, and I believe the 1929 Aurora, and it was the relevance to mankind, the intrinsic values of sisterhood, and the effectiveness of our program. So that was an evolution from helping teachers to get their degrees or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to see us take it back there and evolve that and really spend time investing in our membership and women in general, to really start to go out into the world and do great things. The whole greater women, greater world thing. Uh, I would really love to see us do that and move forward and really empower some of our groups and teaching other young women how to have the enthusiasm. Because even when I get depressed, I'm still enthusiastic. People are like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I really just love us. I don't like us all the time, but I do love us. And I just want us to
Right.
be greater. I just want us to focus on being greater and to focus on doing the things that make us stand out and be those women, those experts, those subject matter experts, those people who are out there doing what needs to be done in the communities, those people who are out there being their best lives. Not everybody is meant to do community work, but you can do work building up individual members. There are things that we can do to go, there are Sorors who are emerging as politicians. There are Sorors who are who are making breakthroughs in STEM. There are Sorors who are making
Right.
breakthroughs in media. By the way, we used to have a great media team. We have so many Sorors in media. It's crazy, bananas.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is those are the things that I think that we could use to elevate our organization, to empower
Mhm.
each other to train. When I was in my role, I was big on training folks. I'm like, I'm
Okay.
gonna teach you how to do what I can do, so you can be
Right.
better.
And you still in the essence of training. I mean, just because you're not in that role, you still can do that.
Yeah, I just did a bunch of. I've been doing a bunch of trainings, but I want us to believe in ourselves more as a collective. We believe in ourselves. We've had the party. We've made the celebration. Now let's take it to a next step. Let's change the game. Let's flip the paradigm for what a
Right.
celebrity is, and what that looks like. And I think we'll get a different type of woman. We have women who are already there, but I think we need to younger women now are a little bit more. They're different. But even though they can do all these things, they still need to work on their self-esteem. They still need to work on their confidence. They need
Mm.
to be able to stand alone. Because when I was an undergrad, I did not care what anybody said. And what I mean by that is, I should say, as a collective, our MO in Sigma Gamma Rho as an undergrad in California, we didn't care about nobody but us. And you know
Mm.
why? Because we were the only things that mattered in terms of what we needed to do. And because we didn't care about nobody but us, I shouldn't say that we cared, we had our relationships with folks,
Right.
but it made us uber focused on building the organization up. And
Right.
that's where I want us to go, is to have that confidence that you can say whatever you want to say to me, but I'm still gonna be the bomb and I'm still gonna do what I need to do.
Right.
And that's where I want to see us cultivate that kind of confidence in women, because we need that in the world, especially as women of color. We need that, you know.
Yes. Big
And it
time.
doesn't have to be bold. It doesn't have to be bold or out there. It can be a level of confidence that you have. Like if you meet me, or people always say, you're just like really confident person. You right. I love me.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nobody gonna love me more than me.
That's
I wake
true.
up. I might not like me all the time, but I look at myself and I'll be like, you pretty cool, chick.
You're pretty good. Yeah. You did an
Mm-hmm.
amazing job. You're amazing. You're
Yeah.
awesome. Yes, we do have to do that. And I love that focus that you mentioned because this generation is different. You know, my husband always say they don't make Sigma women like they used to. what are you talking about? And I think it's just the point that he's seen so many different. He's been with me since 2004, so he's seen so many different sorors, and he's just like, oh, okay. Well, I think, and he always want to give suggestions. Like, you guys need to do things like this or do something like that. And so that self confidence and self esteem is really important. To me, it's really because you'll be surprised that when people are looking for that sisterhood, they want to have a sense of belonging, and not just knowing, oh, okay, I'm just a member, but knowing that I'm actually accepted for who I am and for where I am right now. Even though I may not have much, or my family, I may be the only child, or whatever your situation may be, but understand that you are genuinely feeling accepted. I think that's really important.
I think so too. I mean, I grew up in a situation where I had to go out and do a lot of things on my
Mm-hmm.
own and work at it and to be good at it. But one thing Sora said, we know exactly who you are. When you walk into the room, we know exactly
Yes.
who you are and what you are about. You do not play with people. And I don't. And I've had younger Sora say, how did you get there? First of all, I like myself. I think I'm pretty dope. I don't think I'm perfect. I don't think I'm the most beautiful. I don't think, but I sure will walk in that room and you will think that, like, and I feel like, and I want, like, I used to, when I coach step teams, I would tell them, they would be like, well, what about everybody? I said, we're not worried about them. We worried about ourselves. We winning. We are the show.
Yes.
We are, people came to see us.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else doesn't matter. And like by the time they get on stage, their self-esteem will be so high and they
Right.
would just perform, and that's how you win.
That's motivation speaking right there.
I don't like to lose. I don't know how to cheer for losing teams. I was a cheerleader. I didn't know how to. We didn't lose much. Somebody asked me, "How did you cheer for a losing team?" I said, "What losing? What you talking about?
Right.
We won."
What you talk about? Well, Sora, I do appreciate you coming on Share the Tea Tuesdays. I know that you're doing a lot of things behind, the scenes of Sigma Gamma Rho, but in your career, like, what are you doing that people should know? Or because I know you're a business owner, you have all these different things that you're doing. So, you have anything that you want to share with anyone?
What I'm really big in is creativity, right? So I do work. I have a regular job. I'm employed, and I also have several side hustles. So one thing about me is I'm going to work, and I'm gonna teach you how to work and make money too.
Okay.
And so I am
Cool.
really big is I do as professionally, I do social media. I'm a social media strategist and I work in volunteer and donor engagement and development, right?
Okay.
But I teach I work on social media strategy for private clients, and I really teach people how to basically create programming or create a process that's going to get them to the next level. I'm about the outcome. So I do have another career. My side career, which got me in social media, was I was a professional singer songwriter, and I still sing and I still write songs. I was a first round Grammy nominee in 5 categories. So
Wow.
yeah, so my
Nice.
stage name is Tamika Nicole. And so, but I had to learn the music business after I got out of graduate school. I learned I did that. But really, I'm just about creativity now, like
Mhm.
inspiring people how to better work with creatives and how to become and how to actualize and be a creative that actually produces. And what I mean by that is produces work, not just have it in your head and you just, you know, actualizing, moving forward. And so one of the things I've worked on is I worked on our Centennial documentary. So I was the producer of that.
Nope.
So yes, so
We'll
that
come back to
that
that.
that's going to be shown. We can't really. I'm not going to say it's going to be a surprise. Let's just say it's going to come out this week.
Okay.
But I worked on that and a team of people, creative and very programmatic people. I'm good at working with those. So that's really my thing is to inspire people to be creative and to do it in a way that's not going to put you in a place where you are struggling financially or anything like that. Because I want you to be your best and I want you to empower and have people in your lives that are going to help you be creative. Because it's a process to be a true creative. and to
Mm.
be a creative that actually produces and not just sits and talks about it. Like, I'm all about let's get it done. We did that with we had a social media team for the sorority from 2018 to 2018 to 2020, and we were on it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and those were a bunch of creatives and people who have business acumen. Some people were just proofreaders, but they all had some. It was all I'm on committees and helping the people. That's something I want to give you credit for what you're doing. And there was a lot of people that I work with. I would love to give them credit for what they're doing. So some of them are serving in offices right now.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. That's
quite a
awesome.
few of them actually
Right.
that were on
Well,
my
you know,
team.
the service for Sigma is always going. It's nonstop. In some
Right.
capacity, or even if you're behind the scenes, in front, it doesn't matter. You're always doing something, even if it's mentoring, something as simple as mentoring or recruiting. It's always nonstop. So I just want
Yes.
to throw that out there. But I do appreciate you coming on Sorority Tuesdays. I know I can continue to talk, 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 because we can talk forever. But I don't want to take up a lot of people's time. And so I just want to say thank you so much for coming on here and just giving your highlights for our Centennial. It's really a big deal. Of course, I'm going to see you in Indy. I'm not for sure when you're getting there. I'll be there by Friday, I believe.
I
Yeah.
get there. Yeah, I get there at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday.
Oh,
So
oh yeah, you're
flying
you're
in from
flying.
California.
Yeah.
I gotta fly.
I know that's a long way. You have a long way to drive.
Yeah,
But I will see you. Hopefully I will see you. There was so many people in Boulay. I just
I
said,
know.
and I was just watching people. I was just like, look. I said, look at all my beautiful sorors, and oh, look at the roars. That's all I did. I just sat down and
It
watched
was a
people.
lot to take in, and that's what I will challenge people. I'll say this, nothing else. Go to Centennial because it's all of our Centennial
Hmm.
and experience how you feel about it and document that, whether it's with pictures, whether you write your feelings about the organization. We probably gonna all be boohooing, but we've waited for this for so long. But the moment the historical, it's the historian in me coming out, is that the stories, the people who went there, how did they get there? What did we have to do to get here? And how do you feel? It's about those 7 women. And what would you want to tell the founders?
Mm.
What would you want to tell them? How would you want this to be remembered? How would you want to thank them? I got to thank one of my Sigma role models on a telephone call, and she was like, "Thank you for sharing that with me." And she was like, "Thank you, because I don't get to hear what how people feel."
Mm.
And so I think that we need to focus on the gratefulness of it, the thankfulness of it, and the moment
Yeah,
instead of all the other stuff. And so, because this will pass, and then November 13th we'll be on to something else.
that's true. That's true. I
Mhm.
like that. I love
Yeah.
that. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in or listening or watching Sorority Tuesdays. Remember, I told you, all November long, even going into the middle of December, we're talking about Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Because hey, there's only one Centennial, and I'm here to experience it, live it, and definitely represent and cut up just a smidge. So I appreciate you joining me, Soror. Don't forget, everyone, to follow me on social media. I'm on all social media channels except for Snap at the Chat. But you can follow me at Share the Tea with V. And remember, be intentional, be insightful, and definitely be impactful. Thank you, Soror Williams Clark, for joining me.
Oh,
I-
you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And I'll see you in Indy, sis. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.